Hello and welcome back to Yapping About Sports. On today's show, going to quickly talk over the Detroit Tigers. Not really much to talk about there, but counting down the days as we are getting ever so close to college football kickoff on noon on Saturday afternoon as the TCU Horned Frogs take on the Bill Belichick-led North Carolina Tar Heels. I will wait for my picks and best bets over the weekend for Friday's show. But on today's show, on Thursday's show, we'll be going over some expectations of Power 4 teams that I believe, Power 4, obviously, Big Ten, SEC will get the majority in the bulk of the conversation. But we'll also talk about what teams from the ACC and Big 12 could possibly make their way back in and really what the reliance is in those conferences if they really want a competitor for a national champion. So, first off and leading off today's show, we have the Detroit Tigers losing 3-0 and dropping a fourth straight series, this time to the Tampa Bay Rays. I mean, expected result, I'm not going to lie, in this series, even with Jobe and Melton. First place team in the East and first place in the American League, so was going to be a tough task to handle anyway. And with the Dodgers coming into town, they were just walked off by the Atlanta Braves, 6-5 in Atlanta on Wednesday night. Sorry, tonight is Wednesday, going into Thursday when I am recording this. But anyway, the Tigers lose 3-0. Melton had some decent stuff. I think anytime you can get a starting pitcher to record 21 outs and only give up, I think it was 3 or less runs or 2 or less runs, maybe a run late given up by the bullpen. Forgive me, I was at work today during the game, so sort of more going off of highlights, box score, and rewatching what I could later on during the evening. But Tigers lose 3-0 and fall back down to 9 games below 500. Like I've said, there is no hope really for the postseason, but to only get 2 hits against a very much struggling Freddie Peralta after the trade that the Tampa Bay Rays made to acquire him at the trade deadline. This is just disappointing, and today this would fall under making an average Joe seem like a Cy Young, and hopefully they make a Cy Young seem like an average Joe in their next game on Friday night, as Tarek Skubal and the Los Angeles Dodgers will be coming to town for a weekend set Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at Comerica Park. I still am going to be down or plan to be down at the ballpark on Friday night and Saturday. Probably not so much on Sunday, and we'll see if Saturday if I'll go down there. But I for sure want to see Scubal's return, and maybe we'll not be down there Saturday with the official return of college football. Maybe time to finally turn the page from heading down to Comerica Park for a little bit, possibly for the season, unless it's a playoff game, maybe at that point, now that there will be Michigan and Michigan State football games to attend to once that calendar turns over to September. Tigers lose 3-0. Get player of the game, I guess, would be Troy Melton for today. 7 innings. You sort of give him props to that. But your offense only able to muster up 2 or 3 hits in today's ball game. Just simply not going to do it on any given day for you. So really can't afford that. Can't really have it. But that is what it is. 3-0 the final score once more at Comerica Park on Wednesday afternoon. Tigers with an off day on Thursday. We'll be back in action on Friday, taking on Tarek Skubal. Back to the bread and butter now. We are getting closer and closer to Michigan and Michigan State football, but we have college football going on over the weekend. Power 4 games are happening over the weekend. The 2 games I'm most intrigued and excited for are obviously the North Carolina Tar Heels taking on the TCU Horned Frogs, but I am also very much intrigued by Virginia and North Carolina State in an early matchup between 2 ACC teams in that one. So very much refreshing. I know USC and Florida State are also going to be in action on Saturday afternoon, but I'm going to go Power 4 conferences, and go team by team on before the ball is snapped. If I were a part of this team's fan bases or these schools' fan bases, would I be having playoff possible? Again, not expecting playoff possible if things go right, and on terms of possible with the expectation for some of these teams. So starting with the bulk and the bread and the butter with the SEC and the Big Ten. We'll start in the Big Ten. I think that teams that have the possibility, again, big word, possibility of making the college football playoff in 2026 are Indiana, Ohio State, Oregon, USC, Iowa, Michigan. End of list. That's my list. Big Ten, those are my big circling points that if things go right, key players don't get hurt, key players take strides, you have some retention, and you have a competitive defense. That's really what I'm looking for in terms of preseason roster construction. Ceilings and floors, and there's the ceilings of those teams are they can be a top 12 team and make that college football playoff. So that would be my Big Ten teams. Now my SEC teams: Texas, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, Georgia, Ole Miss, LSU, Alabama, Tennessee. End of list. Maybe, possibly, honorable mention Missouri, but very, very tough for Missouri for how I see things. SEC, though, has a major bulk. I'm very intrigued to see how Lane Kiffin does in his first season. How does Ole Miss do without Lane Kiffin in their first season without him? With them and all the success and all the wins that he was able to accumulate there in Oxford, Mississippi. Moving down the list, you have can DeBoer prove it and get back to the football playoff? Oklahoma with Mateer. This seems to be the best roster that Venables has had since he's taken over in his tenure at Oklahoma. Obviously, you have Manning and you have Texas and the Longhorns that are there. You have Texas A&M. Harder schedule, going to be a little bit of a tougher path to get there, but Texas A&M, will they put their foot back in the door and be a college football playoff team? And again, all of these teams are mentioned with Notre Dame not qualified in that picture. But again, that will be Notre Dame's a given, and I will get into them later, obviously, for a little bit. But again, focusing on all this is playoff possible, where if I'm entering the season before week 1 begins, where it's okay, we have a shot. We can do this if things fall right, or you have a team, like an Ole Miss that has Chambliss back, like an Alabama that was in the playoff, like an Oklahoma that has Mateer, that has these expectations. Realistically, I think Ole Miss should have expectation as well, with the staff that they were able to retain, the talent that they do have on that roster, and the big check mark is the quarterback. So they have a lot of pieces that are going to fall in their direction in terms of checking the check marks or checking the boxes off in the preseason before you get into game action. So we'll see. The one wild card team I'll throw out there was Tennessee. I'm more intrigued and excited to see what the Vols are able to bring. One team that I don't think will make a big leap in year 1 with a new coach is Florida, but it would be nice if a brand like Florida got back into the national picture of things and really could make some noise. But Big Ten, SEC out of the way. Now it gets really, really scarce, and in terms of possibility, guys, between the Big 12 and the ACC, I only see 4 teams that have the possibility, if I'm a part of these fan bases, that what I think is even in the realm of possibility if things go right for them to make the playoff. Starting in the Big 12, the only 2 teams that, if we are being realistic here, that have a chance at making the college football playoff are BYU and Texas Tech. I think it's a given with Texas Tech, and it seems to be on pen and paper and looking at the schedule and who they have on the roster, seems to be that they're a relative favorite around the nation to win the Big 12 and secure that playoff spot. But I wouldn't doubt BYU. BYU still has a very solid culture, still has solid athletes out there. That would be, but you look down the rest of that list, and once you pried away Oklahoma and Texas away from the Big 12, it is not a lot to look at in terms of, there's a lot of teams like TCU and Arizona State, I would say, in terms of brands and possibility because they've had recent success and have been to the college football playoff. Yes, I think that if you have the chance to maybe find your way and make some noise later on in the year and maybe hang around. But very, 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 very scarce. And when I'm looking up and down that Big 12 and Colorado, not ever really, I don't have any faith in them being on the national picture either. So final Power 4 conference, again, this is all possibility, not expectation. possibility if I'm one of these fan bases. It has to be Clemson or Miami. I'm sorry, but it's got to be Clemson or Miami, and those are the only two options. Those are the only two teams that, in terms of not being able to beat each other up with not being top tier programs for both nationally and in the ACC, you just have to hope and pray that those two teams between Miami and Clemson finish with 9 or 10 plus wins, and we'll see how everything else falls. I'm always going to root for the Navies. I do hope that Navy can make some noise and maybe win a game they shouldn't. But Notre Dame's obviously going to be a team that I think is on everybody's radar. I don't want to sound like Captain Obvious here, but Notre Dame will be a very much solid threat, and they're not a Power 4 team, but they practically are. Everybody knows that. So that's what I have in terms of possibility. There's a lot of teams. I like how wide open it is. I named more than 12 teams. There are more than 12 teams that I just named that have the possibility in terms of the bubble is not popped, obviously, for any fan base before the season kicks off. But, that's what you love about college football. The only thing that, it is what it is, and it happens. And if you earn your right to be there, you earn your right to be there. But I just hope we don't have two teams like a James Madison and a Tulane situation. I hope that there's some more competitiveness in those Power 4 slots so that way we don't go into one of those situations. But that would be my possibilities. And I will end with this, my bold hot take for the 2026 Michigan football season. Yesterday, I did the Michigan State football bold prediction. Go back and check that out on Wednesday's show. But today, on Thursday, August 27th, my bold prediction preseason for the Michigan Wolverines is that by Michigan State game day, Saturday, November 7th in Ann Arbor, Bryce Underwood will be benched as the starting quarterback of the Michigan Wolverines because Michigan realizes he cannot pass the football. So that will be my take. That's what I have for you guys on today's show for Yapping About Sports. Thank you all again for watching and listening. Always appreciate any of the support, comments, likes, subscribes, anything, all of the above. We'll never ask for it, but always will be appreciative because that is ultimately, I enjoy it. I hope that you guys are able to live vicariously through conversation that I have in the games I'm able to post about. But with that being said, have a good rest of your day. Counting down the days, when this post, less than 48 hours until college football.